We are back with more of the breaking news this hour. Newly released emails from the Epstein estate show the convicted sex offender making multiple references to President Trump. In one, it's a 2011 email to accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein writes that Trump, quote, spent hours at his house with a sex trafficking victim. Now, Epstein calls Trump in this email a, quote, dog that hasn't barked. These emails were released by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, and the top Democrat on that committee, Robert Garcia, is joining us now. Congressman, when did you get this information?
We actually just received all of these emails, with a total of about 23,000 documents, actually a few days ago, so last week, and we've been going through, our team, of course, through all of these very carefully over the last few days. We obviously released some today. We'll be releasing additional documents likely later today. The important thing here is that we know, and we've been demanding, that Donald Trump and the DOJ release the full Epstein files. In what's been released today, which obviously is some quite serious, I think, connections between what Donald Trump may have known. There's communication between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, obviously making some claims about Donald Trump spending significant time, hours, with possibly one of the victims. There's also disturbing emails there about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that people can read for themselves. And I think what's important right now is that we want to know why Donald Trump spent the entire campaign saying that he would release the files. And now that he's in the White House, there is a massive cover-up going on. The survivors deserve the truth.
You said there are 23,000 documents as part of this latest tranche of information that you received from the Epstein estate. Are you still getting more information coming in from the estate? And are there more emails than have already been released?
There are definitely more information from the Epstein estate. We expect these 23,000 documents. We want them all released, and so there'll be more coming out later. We think more documents coming out later today, and there'll be more coming out in the future. And so our goal is to get every single document that we receive out into the public's hand, but it also takes an enormous amount of redaction. And so just redacting all of the names of the survivors and the victims takes time. And our promise to their families has been to protect, of course, protect them as well. What's important right now is if you just read the emails that came out today, it's incredibly disturbing. And these possible links between Epstein and Trump and what Trump knew and who he spent time with and what happened at Mar-a-Lago, all of this is part, we know, of what's actually in the Epstein files. And so at this moment, the Department of Justice needs to do the right thing and release the files that are under subpoena by our committee. The information that we're getting from the Epstein estate is only because Democrats fought to get that subpoena. And so we're not going to rest until we get the truth about the full files and what powerful men committed horrific acts against these women and, in some cases back then, children and girls.
These emails that were revealed today do not explicitly implicate Donald Trump in any crimes, and I think it's important to note that his name is mentioned in these emails, and it does raise questions about what he knew of Jeffrey Epstein's actions. Congressman, we're just getting a first reaction now from the White House to the release of these emails. This statement coming from the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. I'm going to read it to you in full. The Democrats selectively leaked emails to the liberal media to create a fake narrative to smear President Trump. The unnamed victim referenced in these emails is the late Virginia Giuffre, who repeatedly said President Trump was not involved in any wrongdoing whatsoever and couldn't have been friendlier to her in their limited interactions. The fact remains that President Trump kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club decades ago for being a creep to his female employees, including Giuffre. These stories are nothing more than bad faith efforts to distract from President Trump's historic accomplishments. And any American with common sense sees right through this hoax and clear distraction from the government opening back up again. What's your response to that?
My response is simple. Then release all the files. If the president has nothing to hide, if the press secretary right there in her comments and statement, if they have nothing to hide at the White House or the Department of Justice, then all we want is for them to release the full files. It's very clear. You can't spend your entire campaign saying you're going to do something and make a commitment to the American people and then backtrack. And so we're going to ensure, one, we always are going to protect the victims and survivors. And if they want to clear the president's name, and more importantly, also all of the other men and powerful men that may have been involved, then release the files today. That should be the response from the White House.
President Trump has said he wasn't a fan of Epstein's. He's called him a creep. He's called the push for more information about Epstein a Democratic hoax. What questions specifically do you have for the president about these emails?
Well, my questions to the president would be, first, is what was your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, did you know what was happening? He was obviously running a huge sex trafficking ring. Why are there so many cases of these connections back to Mar-a-Lago? Jeffrey Epstein himself said that Donald Trump was one of his best friends. Why would he say that? And there's so many questions to ask. And the president could right now end all of the speculation and do the right thing for the survivors by releasing the files. The president himself has said that he has done nothing wrong. Then release the files, because we know for a fact that there are many, many powerful men, some of the most powerful, wealthiest men in this country, that have done and committed harm to children and to girls and women in this country. And those women, now women, deserve justice. So it is time to end this White House cover-up and release the Epstein files today.
Today, Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva will be sworn into the House, where she will be the final vote needed on that discharge petition to compel the DOJ to release the full Epstein files. Do you think these new revelations could sway any other votes? Could there be a pile-on and an overwhelming vote for releasing the documents?
Look, we hope that all Republicans would really center the survivors and the victims at this moment. What's important right now is that there are women who have talked to us now as adults who have shared that they want the files released. They want justice. They want to know what happened and what men were involved, and who are, in many cases, afraid of the consequences of them being in the spotlight and telling their stories.
What's holding some of your colleagues back? What is holding Republicans back from voting to release all the files?
They're complicit in this cover-up. When Donald Trump, the president, says, I don't want to release the files, or he tried to remember earlier in this year, he actually even said they kind of discarded them as being even not important. When they're not releasing these files, it brings questions to be asked. And so, again, our commitment has been, from day one, has been clear. Release the Epstein files. The men that committed harm should be held accountable today.
You've also been demanding answers about Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell's transfer to that minimum security prison. That happened over the summer, and now we are learning of a whistleblower account saying that she's in the process of requesting President Trump commuting her sentence, that he commute her sentence, and that she's also been waited on hand and foot at this camp, customized meals, after-hours time in a private exercise area, access to a service puppy. Have you gotten any information firsthand on her situation?
Look, we have also received really disturbing information, and obviously there's been a lot of reporting about it. What's clear is that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a facility where she has essentially all of this access to apparently people to talk to being able to roam around. It's a club-fed facility where she is now has much more freedom of movement and things that she never should have received, that she wasn't eligible to receive at the facility that she was at before. But this was all done because someone at the Department of Justice ordered it so. We've asked questions of the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Why was a convicted sex trafficker, someone that has monstrous things to women and girls, transferred to a facility after Trump's Department of Justice, and a deputy AG who was once Trump's personal lawyer? Why did they transfer her? Why won't they tell us why and answer questions? We want Ghislaine Maxwell to come before the Oversight Committee and answer these questions. Ghislaine Maxwell should never receive special treatment. She's done horrific things to women and girls. And again, if we want justice for these women and survivors, today is the day that Donald Trump can release all the Epstein files.
Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you for being here.